Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Talks. We are going to talk today about smartphone bans and pledges. Jackie and I are getting a lot of questions from our friends about what we think about smartphone bans and whether or not we think they should sign a pledge, get all their friends to sign a pledge. So we're here to break it down for you and tell you a few considerations that are on our minds.
I think Emily and I agree that, the punchline for us is all else being equal. We think it does make a lot of sense to try to delay smartphones. We have some evidence that smartphones can be just really tricky to navigate for younger kids. There's, of course, the potential for distraction, for interruption of in-person social interaction. So there are reasons to delay smartphones, and we think that can really make sense. And at the same time, I think there are just a few important points that we think will just make for better conversations around this, and maybe help you think through whether this and how this might work for you.
Okay, so here are three key things that we've told our friends to keep in mind. We're using the acronym BAN to keep it simple and hopefully memorable. So, as you think about whether this idea of a pledge might make sense for you or not, here are three things to keep in mind. First, the B is for being realistic. Jackie talked about this idea of a group coming together to sign a pledge and how this is rooted in the idea that it is much easier to delay something like a smartphone for your kid, or really so many other things. It's much easier to be the parent making that decision if other families around you are making the decision too, and if their friends' parents are making that decision as well. So, a number of pledges that we've seen, they try and build on this wisdom, on this insight by having stipulations like the pledge doesn't become active unless 10 families from the school or community actually sign it. And what Jackie and I want to say in the be realistic category is that what we really know about adolescence is that for this to make a difference, for it to make a difference that other families are also delaying, it actually needs to be the 10 right kids for your kid. It needs to be their 9 friends, or their, among those 9 need to be their closest friends. If it's just 9 random kids in their class that don't have smartphones either, it can be much harder for families to actually stick to this pledge or for it to even make sense for them because the social consequences can then be very real for kids. And so this is just something to keep in mind as you're weighing this.
And I think being realistic also just means, acknowledging that we only know so much about what the technology is going to look like in, say, 3 to 5 or even more years from now. We know that technology has changed so much, even just in the past couple years. And it's just hard to know what it's going to look like in terms of smartphones and other tech by the time our kids are at the age where it would be relevant.
And then last, just in this be realistic category, I know I've been saying to my friends, like, what is this? What is this going to mean for you if you sign your name on this pledge? How are you going to think about this? Are you thinking about it, Jackie? I love how you put it when we were talking earlier. Like, are you thinking about this like a contract that is totally binding no matter what? Or are you thinking about it like a compass that is really orienting us toward our values and our intentions around tech and our kids? Are we doing it with a degree of flexibility as we recognize that circumstances will change for our families and that the technologies themselves will change too? Okay, so that's B, be realistic. What is the A for?
So the A is for add, don't just subtract. So I think so much of the conversation right now is about, banning phones, delaying phones, taking away access to this technology that is really present and so much part of our lives right now. But I think we just really need to be aware of what is taking its place. So we can't take away smartphones without giving our kids other ways to connect, other ways to be part of community, other ways to explore and develop independence. These things are all so important during this age range of early adolescence. And, I just think that we need to be aware of when we're taking away smartphones, what we're putting in its place.
And this leads into this idea that we have been talking about alongside the pledge question, which is, should there be some kind of second pledge that goes along with it? So if you're going to pledge not to give your kid a smartphone, what are you pledging to give them? What are the specific things that you're going to pledge to help keep in place so that they have access to the things that you're trying to support, whether that's socialization, time with friends, meaningful time for independence. And so really thinking about the pledge that might go alongside the pledge and what we want to add, not just what we're subtracting. So maybe that's a decision that makes sense for your family, that your kids can play a little later with their neighborhood friends, or that there are certain kinds of activities or opportunities that you have the ability to give them access to, that you're going to really give them access to as part of this overall effort to delay.
All right, and last we have the N in ban, which is for nuance. So I think nuance is really part of the research story here. You know, we know that the research is not so straightforward, not so settled when it comes to the question of kids and smartphones. And I really think that it's important for us to grapple with that. You know, we're not afraid of that complexity in the research, and we don't want you to be either. I think that's all part of the story.
It's not often the headlines that I think people are seeing, especially lately. But this is, I think, it's really important for you to know that we're not afraid of this nuance and complexity. We don't want you to be either, and it doesn't mean that you can't make a decision for your family that supports your kids' needs. But I think doing this with an appreciation that honestly, different families have. And different kids have different needs and different circumstances. We know that different kids actually have very different experiences with tech, and there will be reasons that families who have the very same goal of raising healthy and well adjusted kids actually make different decisions around phones, different decisions about when their kids are getting phones or what devices to get. And we feel like there is already so much guilt and shame around tech parenting, and we don't want parents to have more of it. We know that there are families whose kids have commuting needs that they manage or navigate with smartphones, and there are families whose kids have health challenges that they manage with smartphones. And there are just so many other circumstances that we feel like we have had a front row seat to as we've talked to so many different kids and families across our research and our work. And so we're not scared of this complexity. We also want to really encourage you as you lean into these conversations to think about how you can do it in a way in your community that allows for the fact that different families might really make different decisions, and that there are really thoughtful reasons behind that. So as we think about these conversations for our communities, just thinking about how we make sure that we're not alienating families that might need to for a variety of reasons or want to make different decisions from ours.
Absolutely. So that's all we have, B-A-N or ban, when we're thinking about smartphone pledges. Let us know how else we can help. Let us know what questions you have. We love supporting families and kids around tech. You can follow us at Tech Without Stress on Instagram and TikTok, or subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you want more of the research and parenting advice, you can check out my Substack, Techno Sapiens. And Emily?
I would love for people to check out the book I wrote with Carrie James, Behind Their Screens, What Teens Are Facing and Adults Are Missing. And also check out the Center for Digital Thriving at Harvard Graduate School of Education, which I helped found and which has a bunch of resources for families as well.